Hello, everybody. This is Father John Summers, the headmaster of the St. John of Damascus Orthodox Educational Initiative, greeting you on the feast of St. Anthony the Great. We are pleased to resume our recordings of the lives of the saints in this new year, and are beginning with one of the Church's most notable ascetic saints, St. Anthony the Great, who is revered as the father of monasticism. His life was written by St. Athanasius the Great, who was a contemporary of his and knew him personally. As St. John Climacus says, angels are a light to monks, and monks are a light to men. And so we wanted to offer the reading of this life, both in honor of the saint on his feast day, which we'll be reading over the next few weeks, but also in preparation for Great Lent, insofar as the example of St. Anthony the Great is very instructive as to how we should prepare ourselves for the ascetical discipline in Great Lent. So with that, I'd like to read a short synopsis of his life, and then the prologue of his life, and the first section of the longer life by St. Athanasius the Great. St. Anthony the Great was an Egyptian ascetic born around the year 250 in the village of Komen near Heraclea. After the death of his noble and wealthy parents, he gave his inheritance to the poor, and in his 20th year devoted himself entirely to the ascetic life he had desired since childhood. Seeking solitude, Anthony withdrew, first near his village, and later into the wilderness, along the shore of the Red Sea, where he lived for 20 years in complete seclusion, devoted to prayer, fasting, and contemplation, and enduring severe temptations. Though he fled human attention, his holiness became widely known, and many gathered around him as disciples, whom he guided by his words and example. During his 85 years of ascetic life, Anthony left the desert only twice, once during a persecution of the Church, when he sought martyrdom, and once at the request of St. Athanasius the Great to refute the claim that he supported the Arian heresy. Though not formally educated, Anthony possessed deep spiritual wisdom and was sought out even by the most learned men of his time. Anthony reposed in the Lord in the year 356 at the age of 105, leaving behind a vast spiritual legacy and an enduring example of holiness. What follows is the fuller account of his life, written by his close friend and defender of the faith, St. Athanasius the Great. The life and conversation of our Holy Father Anthony, written and sent to the monks in foreign parts by our Father among the Saints, Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria. Athanasius the Bishop, to the brethren in foreign parts. You have entered upon a noble rivalry with the monks of Egypt by your determination either to equal or surpass them in your training in the way of virtue. For by this time there are monasteries among you, and the name of monk receives public recognition. With reason, therefore, all men will approve this determination, and in answer to your prayers, God will give its fulfillment. Now, since you asked me to give you an account of the blessed Anthony's way of life, and are wishful to learn how he began the discipline, who and what manner of man he was previous to this, how he closed his life, and whether the things told of him are true, that you also may bring yourselves to imitate him, I very readily accepted your behest, for to me also the bare recollection of Anthony is a great accession of help. And I know that you, when you have heard, apart from your admiration of the man, will be wishful to emulate his determination, seeing that for monks the life of Anthony is a sufficient pattern of discipline. Wherefore, do not refuse credence to what you have heard from those who brought tidings of him, but think rather that they have told you only a few things, for at all events they scarcely can have given circumstances of so great import in any detail. And because I, at your request, have called to mind a few circumstances about him, and shall send as much as I can tell in a letter, do not neglect to question those who sail from here, for possibly when all have told their tale, the account will hardly be in proportion to his merits. On account of this, I was desirous, when I received your letter, to send for certain of the monks, those especially who were wont to be more frequently with him, that if I could learn any fresh details, I might send them to you. But since the reason for sailing was coming to an end, and the letter carrier urgent, I hasten to write to your piety what I myself know, having seen him many times, and what I was able to learn from him, for I was his attendant for a long time, and poured water on his hands, in all points being mindful of the truth, that no one should disbelieve through hearing too much. If you are enjoying this series, please consider making a donation to the St. John of Damascus Orthodox Educational Initiative. We are asking the faithful to support our scholarship fund, which will help ensure that an education based on the Orthodox Christian faith and following the classical model is available to all interested families of our eparchy and other like-minded Orthodox Christians, regardless of their financial circumstances. We are also asking for donations to help us make renovations and improvements to our new physical headquarters, located on the property of the Holy Ascension Parish in Bearsville, New York. Please see the link in the description of this video to learn how you can donate and support the future of our church, that is, the youth of our church. God bless you. Through the prayers of St. John of Damascus.